I never thought I would be the one to say this on public record, but 3I Atlas didn't just pass by Earth. It restructured the space around us. Before we begin, I need you to do something. Comment your city name below and tell me, have you noticed anything unusual in the night sky? Strange lights? Objects that don't move like satellites? NASA is collecting reports from civilians worldwide, and what you've seen may be more significant than you realize. What I'm about to share may change the way you see humanity's place in the universe. Now, let me be very clear about what I mean when I say restructured. I'm not speaking metaphorically. I'm not using poetic language to dramatize a cosmic event. I mean that the fabric of space-time in Earth's orbital neighborhood has been altered in ways that violate our current understanding of physics. And the object responsible, 3I Atlas, is not behaving like any comet, asteroid, or natural body we have ever observed. My name is Michio Kaku. I'm a theoretical physicist. I've spent my entire life studying the universe, its laws, its elegance, its mathematics. I've written about wormholes, parallel universes, and the physics of impossible things. But I always operated under one fundamental assumption, that the universe, however strange, follows rules, predictable rules. Today, I'm not sure that assumption holds anymore. Let me take you back to when 3I Atlas was first detected. It was late. Astronomers were monitoring the outer solar system when they picked up an object moving at extraordinary speed. At first, it seemed like another interstellar visitor, a rogue comet from beyond our sun's influence, passing through on a hyperbolic trajectory. We've seen this before. Oumuamua, Borisov. Interstellar objects are rare, but they're not unheard of. But 3I Atlas was different from the start. Its velocity was wrong. Not just fast, wrong. It was decelerating in ways that couldn't be explained by gravitational interactions alone. Then it began changing course, subtly at first. A few degrees here, a slight adjustment there. Natural objects don't do that. Comets don't navigate. They fall along predictable arcs determined by gravity and momentum. 3I Atlas was doing something else entirely. The scientific community tried to rationalize it. Outgassing, they said. Jets of sublimating ice pushing it off course like a thruster. It's happened before with comets, but the math didn't work. The trajectory corrections were too precise, too controlled, and there was no visible outgassing, no tail, no coma, just a dark, silent object gliding through space like it knew exactly where it was going. Then it did something that changed everything. It entered a polar orbit around Earth. Not a flyby, not a near miss. A stable, circular orbit passing over both poles every 93 minutes. Do you understand the level of precision required to do that? To enter orbit around a planet from interstellar space, you need to bleed off an enormous amount of velocity at exactly the right moment, at exactly the right angle. You need propulsion, you need control, you need intent. 3I Atlas had all three. When NASA confirmed the orbital insertion, there was silence in the room. I was on a call with several colleagues at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. No one spoke for almost a minute. We were all thinking the same thing, but no one wanted to say it out loud, because saying it out loud meant accepting that everything we thought we knew about our place in the universe had just been shattered. We were looking at technology, not ours. I want you to imagine what that feels like. I've spent 50 years studying the laws of nature. I've taught thousands of students. I've appeared on television, written books, explained the cosmos to millions of people. And in one moment, all of that certainty, all of that knowledge felt fragile, incomplete, childlike. Because whoever built 3I Atlas understands physics in ways we don't. The first sign of spatial restructuring came from gravitational wave detectors. LIGO, Virgo, Kagra, the instruments we use to measure ripples in space-time caused by colliding black holes and neutron stars. They started picking up something unusual, a low-frequency hum, constant, rhythmic, emanating from the region of space where 3I Atlas was orbiting. At first, we thought it was instrumental noise, a glitch in the detectors. But the signal was coherent across all three facilities. It was real, and it was growing stronger. Then the GPS satellites started malfunctioning. Not all of them, just the ones in orbits that brought them close to 3I Atlas. Their clocks were running slow, microseconds at first, then milliseconds. Time itself was being distorted in the vicinity of the object. That's when I realized what we were dealing with. 3I Atlas wasn't just orbiting Earth. It was bending space-time around it, creating a localized field of gravitational distortion that shouldn't be possible without the mass of a neutron star. But 3I Atlas is small, maybe a few hundred meters across. Its mass is negligible, and yet it was warping space like an object a billion times heavier. This is technology so advanced it looks like magic. Arthur C. Clarke once said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. He was right. What we were seeing was indistinguishable from a violation of the laws of physics. But it wasn't a violation. It was mastery. Mastery so complete that it made our most sophisticated machines look like stone tools. I began asking myself the questions I had spent my career avoiding, questions that felt too speculative, too unscientific, but now they were unavoidable. Who built this? Why is it here? And what does it want from us? NASA convened an emergency task force, not just astronomers and physicists, but linguists, anthropologists, military strategists, intelligence analysts. We were trying to understand not just what 3I Atlas was, but what its presence meant. And the more we learned, the more disturbing the picture became. The object wasn't passive, it was scanning us. Radio telescopes detected faint electromagnetic pulses emanating from 3I Atlas in regular intervals. The pulses were directed at Earth, not broadcast omnidirectionally, but beamed, focused, targeted. They swept across the surface of the planet like a radar array, bouncing signals off cities, military installations, power grids, data centers. It was mapping us, learning us, cataloging every aspect of our civilization in real time, and we couldn't stop it. Some in the intelligence community wanted to take action. There were proposals to launch an interceptor, to send a spacecraft equipped with sensors or weapons to investigate 3I Atlas up close, but cooler heads prevailed, because we had no idea what would happen if we provoked it. This was not a comet. This was not debris. This was an emissary from a civilization that could manipulate space-time itself. Attacking it would be like a child throwing rocks at a tank. So we watched and waited and hoped that whatever it was doing, it wasn't hostile. Then the signal changed. It was 3 a.m. when I got the call. A colleague at the SETI Institute. Her voice was shaking. She told me to get to a secure terminal immediately. She couldn't say more over the phone. I drove to the university in the dark, my mind racing. By the time I arrived, a dozen other scientists were already there, gathered around a screen in stunned silence. 3I Atlas had stopped scanning. The electromagnetic pulses had ceased. Instead, it was transmitting something else, a data stream, highly compressed, mathematically structured, unmistakably artificial. And it was aimed directly at us. We spent the next 72 hours trying to decode it. The structure was elegant, almost beautiful. Layers of information nested within other layers like a fractal. Whoever designed it understood information theory at a level we're only beginning to grasp. They knew how to communicate across the void in a way that was both universal and efficient. When we finally cracked the first layer, what we found was an image, a star map. Not of our galaxy, but of a region of space thousands of light years away. Dozens of stars were marked, connected by lines forming a web-like structure. At the center of the web was a single point, pulsing with mathematical annotations we didn't yet understand. And then we found the second layer, a timeline. Geological, evolutionary, biological. It was a compressed history of Earth, from its formation 4.5 billion years ago to the present day. But it wasn't just data, it was analysis. Whoever sent this had been watching us for a very long time. The third layer was the one that made my blood run cold. It was a warning, not in words, not in language, but in pure mathematical relationships that conveyed meaning more directly than any spoken tongue ever could. The message was simple, elegant, and terrifying. You are being evaluated. That's when I understood what 3I Atlas really was. It wasn't an explorer. It wasn't a probe sent to gather scientific data. It was an examiner, a test administrator, sent by a civilization, or perhaps a coalition of civilizations, to assess whether humanity was ready to join the broader galactic community, and we were failing. The data stream included criteria, metrics, Measurements of our technological development, yes, but also our social cohesion, our ecological stewardship, our treatment of other species, our capacity for cooperation over tribalism. We were being judged not just on what we could build, but on who we were as a species. And the preliminary assessment was not favorable. I felt something I had never felt before in my scientific career. Shame. Not personal shame, but a collective shame for humanity. Because viewed from the outside with cold objectivity, we looked like children playing with matches in a room full of gasoline. We had unlocked the power of the atom, but we pointed those weapons at each other. We had developed the capacity to leave our planet, but we spent more money on wars than on exploring the cosmos. We had discovered the intricate web of life on Earth, and we were driving species to extinction at a rate not seen since the age of the dinosaurs. From the perspective of an advanced extraterrestrial intelligence, we looked dangerous. Not to them, they were clearly beyond our capacity to threaten, but dangerous to ourselves. And perhaps, if we ever develop the capability to leave our solar system, dangerous to others. That's when I realized the true purpose of 3I Atlas. It wasn't just evaluating us, it was deciding whether to quarantine us. There's a concept in astrobiology called the zoo hypothesis, the idea that advanced alien civilizations know we exist, but they're deliberately avoiding contact, allowing us to develop naturally without interference, like animals in a protected reserve. Some scientists find the idea comforting. I used to be one of them. But what if the zoo has fences? What if there are civilizations out there that have been spacefaring for millions of years, that have established protocols for dealing with emerging intelligences like us? What if they've seen species like ours before, technologically precocious but ethically immature, and they've learned that such species pose a threat if allowed to expand unchecked? 3I Atlas wasn't just watching us. It was deciding whether to lock the door. The spatial restructuring I mentioned at the beginning, that wasn't a side effect. It was preparation. The gravitational distortions, the warping of space-time around Earth, they weren't random. They were controlled, deliberate. 3I Atlas was building something, a field of some kind, a barrier, subtle now, but growing stronger every day. Some of my colleagues think it's a communications array, a way to establish a stable link between Earth and wherever 3I Atlas came from. I hope they're right, but I fear they're not. Because if we're being quarantined, if humanity is being contained, then every signal we send into space, every probe we launch, every dream we have of becoming an interstellar species, that all of it is being monitored and potentially blocked by forces we can't even comprehend, let alone resist, and maybe we deserve it. I've spent the last few months re-examining everything I thought I knew about the Fermi paradox. Enrico Fermi asked the question back in 1950. If the universe is so vast, and if intelligent life is even remotely common, then where is everyone? Why haven't we seen any evidence of extraterrestrial civilizations? We used to think the answer was distance. Space is big, really big. Even at the speed of light, crossing the galaxy takes 100,000 years. We assume that alien civilizations, if they exist, are simply too far away to reach us or for us to detect them. But what if that's not the answer? What if the universe is teeming with intelligent life, but most of it never makes it past the threshold we're approaching right now? What if there's a filter, a test that species must pass before they're allowed to join the galactic community? And what if most species fail? 3I Atlas may be the filter, the gatekeeper, the final exam for technological civilizations. And we're running out of time to study for it. I find myself wondering what the beings who built 3I Atlas are like. Are they biological, artificial, some hybrid we can't even imagine? Do they think the way we do, with individual minds and personal identities? Or are they some kind of collective intelligence, a hive mind spanning star systems? And more importantly, do they see us as fellow conscious beings worthy of respect and consideration? Or do they see us the way we see bacteria in a petri dish? Interesting, perhaps. Worth studying, but ultimately expendable. I don't have answers to these questions. No one does. But I do know this. The universe just got a lot smaller and a lot more crowded. We are not alone. We have never been alone. And the neighbors have been watching us for a very long time. There's a profound loneliness in that realization. For all of human history, we could imagine ourselves as unique, special, the universe's great experiment in consciousness. But 3I Atlas has shown us that we're not special, we're not unique. We're one of countless species that have climbed out of the oceans of their worlds, looked up at the stars, and wondered if anyone was out there. Now we know they are, and they're judging us. The question that haunts me now is not whether aliens exist. That question has been answered. The question is, what are we going to do about it? How do we, as a species, respond to the knowledge that we're being evaluated by intelligences we can't comprehend using criteria we're only beginning to understand? Do we change? Do we prove that we're capable of growth, of wisdom, of rising above our violent tribal past? Do we clean up our planet, end our wars, and build a civilization that an advanced alien species would consider worthy of contact? Or do we continue as we are, hurtling toward ecological collapse and nuclear brinksmanship, proving to the watchers in the sky that we are indeed too dangerous to be allowed into the cosmic community? I'm a physicist. I deal in data, in equations, in objective measurements of reality. But this question isn't scientific, it's moral, it's existential, and it's urgent. Because 3I Atlas is still up there, still orbiting, still watching. And whatever report it sends back to its creators, whatever recommendation it makes about humanity's future, will shape the destiny of every human being alive today and every generation yet to be born. The restructuring of space around Earth continues. The field is growing stronger. Some of my colleagues have detected what appears to be a threshold effect, a point at which the spatial distortions will stabilize into something permanent. We don't know when that threshold will be reached. Months, maybe, possibly weeks. After that, we may find ourselves living in a universe where the rules have changed, where the stars we can see are no longer the stars we can reach, where humanity's future is bounded not by our ambition or our technology, but by a cage we can't even perceive, built by hands we'll never shake unless we change, unless we prove ourselves worthy. I've dedicated my life to understanding the universe, to teaching, to exploring, to pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. But knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. Technology without ethics is a loaded gun in the hands of a child. 3I Atlas is holding up a mirror, and we don't like what we see. But mirrors don't lie. And the reflection staring back at us is the truth about who we are as a species, right now, in this moment. The question is whether we have the courage to change that reflection before the mirror is taken away. I don't know if we'll pass this test. I don't know if humanity is capable of the kind of rapid fundamental transformation that might be required. We are a fractious species, divided by borders and beliefs, ideologies, and identities. We've spent more of our history at war than at peace. We've conquered our planet, but we haven't learned to live in harmony with it. And now, something is watching us from orbit, taking notes, making calculations, preparing a report that could seal our fate for millennia to come. But here's what I do know. We are capable of extraordinary things when we choose to be. We split the atom, we decoded our own genome, we sent machines to the surface of Mars and humans to the surface of the moon. We created art, music, literature, philosophy. We've loved and dreamed and hoped against hope for a better future. That capacity for greatness is still within us. The question is whether we'll choose to use it before it's too late. Follow this channel as we continue to decode what 3I Atlas may be telling us, and what we can still do to change the message we're sending back. Because right now, in this moment, we're writing the final chapter of humanity's first contact with an alien intelligence. And the ending hasn't been written yet. So I'll leave you with this question, the same one that keeps me awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering about the object passing silently over our heads every 93 minutes. If an intelligence millions of years more advanced than us was deciding right now whether humanity deserves a future among the stars, what would you want them to know about us? What would you want them to see? Comment below, not just your city name, but your answer. Because somewhere, in ways we're only beginning to understand, I think they're listening.